Hello and welcome to the 4th annual Chicago Responsible Jewelry Conference. We're going to get started in just a moment, but as usual with all things digital, there's a little bit of housekeeping to do. So the first thing I'd like to do is make sure that you can see and hear us. There is a chat box to either the right of your screen or just below it, depending on what type of device you're using. Could you just go into the chat box and let us know if you can see and hear us okay?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Rich can see and hear us. Gina can see and hear us. Gina thinks you look great, Susan.
Oh, thanks. I've got my Chicago shirt on.
Oh, there you go. I didn't think of that. I could have worn it.
It looks like I'm wearing a plain t-shirt, but no. I need to get my whole shirt on.
Anna in Denmark. Hi, Martin. Nice to see you. We've got people coming in from all over the globe. That's one of the joys of doing this digitally. Well, it looks like it's working. Go figure. So I guess we'll get started. Again, welcome to the 4th annual Chicago Responsible Jewelry Conference. The pandemic has so many downsides, but we take our silver linings where we can. And one of the silver linings is that we found a way to have the conference that could include more people from more places. And we're going to celebrate that. I'm taking whatever wins I can find. So welcome to everyone who's joining us again and for the first time. I'm Andrea Hill, and I'm here with Susan Wheeler, who is the founder of the Chicago Responsible Jewelry Conference and the Responsible Jewelry Transformative. And the brains behind, Susan says things like, oh, I think we should talk about such and such. I'll go find somebody at the UN who can talk about it. Oh, I think we should talk about such and such. I'm sure I can find somebody at the State Department who'd be willing to talk about that. And then she goes and finds these people. And over the course of the last 4 years, she's found more and more people. And then the community brings us new people, and the conference has grown. And this is all because Susan just picks up the phone and calls people. So I'm constantly fascinated by your ability to rope people in.
Well, I think a part of that is, and I mean, so much this year, like I just have been flooded by how much communication we need. And so when you call somebody who's researched something or written a report or, you know, Human Rights Watch or somebody in the government, that this is their job, like they're working on things that have to do with us in the jewelry industry 24/7. We don't even know what they're working on. They want to come speak to us. And this year, there were so many areas where I covered the need for communication. You know, the Diamond Symposium recently, and now coming to the Diamond panel. These were things where I came to understand that the diamond industry was thinking or talking separately to the jewelry industry, and we're all in one industry. So on almost every single panel this year, there was something that was like, it's communication.
Mm-hmm. And connection. I mean, even in the jewelry industry, in our own vertical, we don't do a good job of communicating between the different steps of the vertical. And it's not just that the mine is really separated from the retailer. Retailers and vendors don't necessarily communicate very well. So we've got people all over the world working on projects, and then we've got a jewelry industry vertical that doesn't communicate very well, and we need to fix those things.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the panels that are new this year have to do with communication, and I see it everywhere. So sometimes that lack of communication, when I find out about it, is it kind of inspires the panel. And that was not just with the Diamond panel, but there's all different areas where you can just pick up the phone and connect people and see that. With Virtue Gem in Zambia, I saw a report from the State Department about child labor and gemstones. And I spoke with the head of the federation we work with, and they didn't know that they were listed that way with the US State Department. So that's a phone call. So you get the whole team that's doing the research, and you get the head of the Zambian Federation, and then there's knowledge. And they can give an update of what is happening 10 years since that report. So it can be rectified, and there can be real communication. So there's always the research and the reports yes, to connect to the people in the source countries, to the people doing the reports, so we can understand them more. And I think a lot of this is coming out. There's areas where there's been research and connection, and then there's areas where research has gone on without a proper connection and communication. And here, whether we're in person and we have wonderful people coming over, from all over the globe, we're always connecting. I mean, I miss seeing Eunice and Salma this year from the Tanzanian Women's Mining Association. I'm missing, everybody that's come every year. We've had a miner from Colombia, from Fairmind, come up. We're going to have Meet Annie the miner for a half-an-hour chat session. So it'll be fun, and it's great. But, whether we're virtual or whether we're away, it's about, you're right, connection and communication hand in hand.
Absolutely. And for those of you who are new, if you're doing research, if you are working on initiatives, we want to know about those too, because from the first conference, new people came in and they were either doing work or they knew people who were doing work, and then they brought those people in. And that's how we keep expanding this community and making sure that these messages get to more of the right people. So this is an open invitation for you to let us know what you're working on, and let us help you bring it to the community.
Yeah, and speaking on what people are working on, I want to do some updates as well to people that have been in the conference before.
Okay.
So, if you log in, Andrea, thank you. By the way, Andrea, completely rock star. This whole production is from her incredible mind and abilities, and just a great partner to work with, and teamwork makes dream work, and thank you. So, if you go to the front page, you'll see there's a video about the pager Sudowee, and a link to a PayPal account. So last year we had 2 chiefs from different indigenous tribes in Brazil, in the Amazon, and they came to speak about their mining rights. And I want to give an update that Chief Miguel, who's with the pager Sudowee, he actually is in charge of is a trained nurse, the health and safety of his people. And early on when COVID set in, Brian Cook and I would communicate with Chief Miguel, and where his government wasn't giving him any information, we started talking back in March about isolating the elders, about isolating, and Andre, you had 50 face masks sewn. It's difficult to get things there. So early on, we were talking to them specifically about staying safe in COVID, as many know the indigenous people are especially susceptible. So they were able to stay COVID-free for a long time. They have lost a few elders at this point, but they went into isolation, and they successfully got rid of all of the loggers and miners from their territory. So they are currently in isolation, and that fundraiser is to give them food baskets. So if you want to go on and donate, they need the food basket so they can stay in isolation. And then not such great news about Chief Lucas. He is okay. He is from a different territory, and he's in a very dangerous territory near Colombia, near the border of Colombia and Brazil. And it's very dangerous with the gold miners there. They know that he was looking to have his own mining rights for his people, and he was ambushed, and there was an assassination attempt for him. He was slashed in the side. This happened about a week and a half ago. He won't be able to travel until the 16th. There is a human rights lawyer in New York that I've connected him to, and we've connected him to. And when he gets to a larger town, he's going to begin processing and taking this to the next level with the illegal miners that attacked him. So that's the update from both of the chiefs. And yeah, so I just, anything that we can do to help them at this point, there's always need there.
They made quite a connection with everyone last year at the conference. They're like family now.
It was so fun.
So any other updates from past presenters that you want to bring out?
Oh my gosh, so many. Well, the Diamond Symposium, which was recent, we'll talk. I don't know how much the panel will talk on it, but there's a letter going out. We have a letter prepared for people to sign to help save the girls in Morangi. And that will go to the Zimbabwe Consolidated Diamond Company. And that was written by a human rights lawyer as well.
And for those of you who weren't on the Diamond Symposium a couple of weeks ago, we had interviews with some of the people in Lesotho and Zimbabwe in particular. And one of the women who lives in a community near the Morangi minefields in Zimbabwe made a very passionate plea. She said, please save the girls. That the girl child in her area doesn't have a future to look forward to. They're subject to a tremendous amount of violence and sexual abuse. And so that's what Susan's referring to.
So we will be making that letter available for those who want to sign. Okay, just have an update from Toby. He is nearing the end of their first, this is Toby Pomeroy with Mercury Free Mining, and there's been a lot of work going on here. We're nearing the end of our first phase of Columbia Gold ore testing using 2 innovative gold ore processors in collaboration with the Alliance for Responsible Mining, ARM. ARM will be speaking on the gender equity in gold mining panel, which is, oh my gosh, we have to talk about that in a minute. It's so awesome. All right, Toby also says, following these results, we will test ore concentrates from 3 mines in Puno region of Peru. If the results are favorable, the miners feel they can mine more profitably using the innovative, all right, gravimetric processors.
You did good. That's right.
Established pilot mining projects in communities, creating a direct access market for mercury-free gold. That sounds great.
Yep.
And they're partnering with World Wildlife Federation, ARM, and GIA. Wow, in a $5 million U.S. State Department grant for mercury abatement. Work in 2 communities, Chaco, which we'll have a whole report on Chaco with Juana Mendez,
Yep.
in the Colombian rainforest.
Toby, when did you get that grant? I see you're in the comments. Tell us in the comments when that came through.
It's exciting.
It is exciting. Toby Pomeroy's just been quietly, constantly plugging away at the mercury-free mining issue. So that's who that update's coming from. Looks like Toby's right now.
Let me see. See if I have something from Jagdish. He can't come on because he's traveling. Jagdish has an NGO in India. He was on last year, helping with silicosis. Oh, I do have a silicosis update that's not from me, but so we've talked about silicosis. Eric Broadmoor, brought it during the first conference last year. Eric brought over Jagdish from India, and silicosis, for those of you who don't know, it's a disease that just like attacks your lungs with little, it's like everything that comes off of gems when you're gem cutting, it's like glass going into your lungs, and you're not able to recover. But in Australia, there's a problem, and other miners getting silicosis, and now there's news that there may be a cure or a method that doctors can flush out the lungs and work with that.
That would be major.
Yeah, I think it'll be a long time before it can reach the most vulnerable silicosis victims in our industry, which are the gem cutters. But anyways, that's some good news in the silicosis area. I'm not getting any direct updates from anyone else. I'm sure there's a ton that we'll think of as we go along. But should we talk about the gold?
Yeah, let's do it.
There's so many fun ones, but so, we always do the gold mining, and it's always a hard issue. We come at it from so many different angles this year, but one of them that you're going to be moderating is in the ASM area of gender equity for women. And, I called up Connie at Fairmind, and we started talking about it. And, I think it first started with Irene in the Golden Line in Ghana. Last fall, Irene, I'm like, okay, we have to have you on, Irene. So it started with Irene, actually, in the Golden Line. And this program in Ghana has so many interesting initiatives that, they do alongside the women gold mining. And we're going to hear about all of those. And then I called up Connie in Fairmind, and we always talk about what we're going to have on. And she said there's a new initiative in ARM, the Alliance for Responsible Mining, that Natalie's on, where she's bringing gender all sorts of gender equity issues all through, through these mines. So she's doing it in multiple mines that are the Fair Mine certified mines. Things like, when we were talking about, it's really interesting, like if you talk about gender-based violence, rather than just talking to women, like having everybody in the room, having the whole mine in the room, everybody that works, so the men and the women, and talking about this as a group. And then, in Virtue Gem, when we're working in Malawi, and this came about because somebody wanted a piece of jewelry made there. So I called up Percy, who will be on in a few hours with the gem thing, and Percy's a jeweler. And I said, well, Percy, where do you get your gold? And he said, well, I get it from this guy, and he's working with the miners. And then I also get it from this program. And that's where I was introduced to Gloria, who is a Malawi-based environmental group, nonprofit. And she's working with a group of women alluvial gold miners. And it's just been a year. The project is just baby steps. And so we actually have jewelry that's being exported through Virtue Gem from these women. So you have like ARM, that's been around for a while and doing all of this, Golden Line, both very established in different areas with a lot of funding. And then you have Gloria, who's just doing this, on her own in Malawi, and it's only been up and running a year. So I love all the different perspectives coming in.
Well, and then we also have representation on and off throughout the conference from the various leaders of different women's mining associations in Africa. You'll be hearing from Polly Mundia, who's with the women's mining group in Zambia. And then, let's see, who else? Well, we don't have the women from Tuwoma speaking what you're doing.
I know.
But there's so much activity around gender equity and in mining around the globe. And these initiatives have been going on for a while. And it's fun to connect everyone together so they can see what's going on in each other's initiatives so that we can support each other.
Yeah. And about the conference, I often get from some of the, people well-meaning, some of the men that I have speaking on, and I say, well, who else, let's talk about this panel. He goes, well, I want to see some women on, we need to represent women at the conference. And I'm always like, well, look at the list of speakers. This isn't on purpose. This is just the way it is.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
And it's good.
Yeah. So Moyo and the women of Tuwoma won't be on the Moyo session, but just even the Gem Boutique today is going to be so much fun. We do start with Moyo. Stuart and Monica will be on, and it's a gem show, but it's always so much fun, and we have so much fun together, whether members of this group are doing Ethical Gem Fair in Tucson or in Chicago at the Responsible Gem Boutique. So I'm really excited to be able to include it virtually. Mm-hmm. And thank you for, we have the, you built a whole shop on the website, Andrea. It's amazing.
We have to thank Kirsten for that. She labored over the shop on the website. And people are already shopping. We've already got orders.
Great.
I know. So we'll be able to support our gem. The gem fair is so fun. Like, I just remember last year, everybody packed in that room. There was just such a hum of activity. And of course, it's always exciting to be able to find responsible gemstones. So, but we're going to make it as fun as we can this year with today's going to be a fun day. Just boom, 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 half-hour presentations from each of our gem dealers. And it's going to be very conversational. And yeah, you can shop, you can order gemstones. So.
Yeah, it's going to be great. So, and meet people too.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what else are you excited about over the next few days? What aren't you excited about, but what's like popping into your head right now?
Well, I think we should mention that we're going to have 2 panels that are Chatham House rules. Mm-hmm. So if you want to really get the full experience, you have to watch them live. Before we get to that, I'm not sure whether Indigenous rights and large-scale mining will be Chatham House rules, but believe me, when you start to get into some of these conversations about what Indigenous groups are going through and sometimes persecution by large-scale mines, we may put that Chatham House rules. I'm not sure. We're going to talk to the panelists about that.
So just a quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, just to clarify, don't lose your thought though. Okay, a clarifier about Chatham House rules for those of you who don't understand. Chatham House rules basically state that a group of people can talk about a topic and talk freely, and our agreement as a community is that we not attribute any one thing that someone said to that person. So it's okay to share what was said in the session, but you can't say, well, Susan said. That's Chatham House rules. And what it does is it makes it safe to broadly share information without endangering the people who are speaking. And we are talking about topics that do endanger people. We are very, very careful to protect identities when need be. We have people who put themselves in physical danger to do the work they do. So that's what Chatham House Rules is all about. So we will not record those sessions. We will share summary transcripts after the fact where we've stripped out identities, but there will not be a video recording of those. Okay, you didn't lose what you're going to say, did you?
No, I can't. All right, so we are launching the free showing of Maxima right now. So speaking of Indigenous rights, Maxima is like this world hero. She's a Peruvian woman who, worked like anyone else, she and her family, to buy this little plot of land. Well, Newmont Mining comes in and they want her land because they want to expand their mine. And she's been fighting to keep her land. And she actually the Peruvian courts have actually said, yes, you can keep your land. They can't take it away from you. She has been harassed. And it's just kind of, some people said it's depressing, but not compared to other movies I've shown in the past. I think it's a hero story. It's going to give us hope, but it's also giving us this insight that we need to understand about Indigenous rights and mining. And, I always focus a little bit. I have focused before on the artisanal and small scale mining because, it's like you can see hope. You can do a moil. You can do a virtue gem. You can go in and work with people and make a difference as an individual. But large scale mining is something totally different. And we all have to think about when you hear, after seeing Maxima and then the Indigenous rights panel, and you hear Nuskmata, who is a First Nations person from Canada, who is fighting some of the problems that have come from large-scale mining there. And you hear her say, it's just so powerful, she doesn't wear gold because she doesn't know whose land it comes from. And her statements actually get a little bit stronger than that. To hear that understanding. So I'm excited about Maxima. I'm excited that we have a panel around these areas to discuss afterwards. So that's so we make the movie live now, and then it's live Monday and Tuesday. Tuesday night, get on your couch, make your whole family watch it, have some popcorn, and then after that, we're going to have a Q&A with the director, Claudia Sparrow. And then the movie closes. So you only have Monday and Tuesday to watch it.
Right, and if you just go on the 2020.crjc.info site, the event site, and go to the Maxima, search for the Maxima movie, you can click the link, and it is available now. I haven't tested it yet this morning. It's supposed to be available now, but it's day one, so all kinds of surprises could be happening. If you don't see it available now, let us know.
Yeah. So what else are you excited about, Andrea?
I'm very excited about the gender equity panel. I'm excited about the closing gold event.
Oh yeah.
What's your idea around that? Because that's it's joyful. We bring a lot of hard information forward in this conference, but there's a lot of joyful work that's coming out. We can't fix what we don't know about, right? So we have to know the hard things. We have to tell the hard truths. And then we keep chipping away at it and creating initiatives and putting people together. And so I like to celebrate the joyful when we get it. So talk about that.
So Amazon Aid Foundation with Sarah DuPont, the founder, 2-3 years ago, we showed River of Gold, and that's about deforestation in the Amazon. And since then, Sarah's been going strong and building, everything through legislation and, working on all these areas, and has now launched a gold campaign. So the campaign is about just everybody signing on for better gold. Everybody here, just sign on to the campaign. And so this whole closing hour that we have is going to talk about, I think we have, we're up to 20 people, everybody coming on. So Sarah's going to introduce, this is why, I'm working with Bania Benza, who does these whole campaigns around, she did Blood Diamonds, she did Hotel Rwanda. And this is, an expert from the scientists, scientists from the Amazon, an expert here. Here is the indigenous leader in Peru who we're working with. So all these people, jewelers, everybody who's signing on in the spectrum of people in what they do and why they come to this space of trying to get better gold is really interesting. And it's all about us all pledging to make it better. And it's going to be fun and dynamic. And again, I'm always fascinated by all these people that come to this space and why and how. And I think it'll be a real celebration of everybody that needs to come together as a community.
Absolutely. Well, and what we're celebrating, the joyful thing is action and progress. So sometimes people come to the conference for the first time and they're like, oh, there's so much to do. And there's a lot to do. But more people know about it and more people are doing more. So what's joyful for us is just seeing everybody jump onto these initiatives and then come forward and start initiatives. And a lot of these initiatives are happening, between attendees of the conference that have just met each other and realized they had a common interest and some common connections, and off they go and do their own initiatives. So it's take joy in the progress, because there's a lot of work to do and you're going to run out of energy if you don't. I've got quite the wind coming in my window, but it's 70 degrees north of Chicago in November, and I'm not willing to close the window, so things are blowing about here. So.
Related to the kind of goals of the gold campaign, we are talking about Mercury quite a bit, and we're talking about the Minamata, and that panel is under Chatham House rules, and you're thinking that's kind of weird, but it really goes deep. There's so many, the way that the kind of flows of where Mercury goes. How does Mercury even get into all these communities and then into our rivers, and who's selling it? There's a lot of illicit actors that are taking mercury around the globe, and the artisanal miners are susceptible to getting into, whether they're given the mercury and then they're indebted to that person and they never, can make any money or get a leg up in life. It's very big. There's this huge web around mercury. And so the people working in it, I think we have 2 government representatives, a UN representative. So we have a lot of people that are working at it from different angles. So it's a big topic. I mean, we're only beginning to touch on it in one panel. It could be a whole conference, which it is in other places, but yeah.
Absolutely. Susan's asking, tell us again how to sign on. Susan, did you mean what, Susan in chat, do you mean what Susan on the camera was saying about signing on to Clean Gold? Or maybe Susan in chat could clarify that question. She just said, tell us, yes, so
okay.
Sign on to that.
We'll have live sign-ons on Friday, and it's the closing session. So we'll have the live pledging then, and that'll be great. So
it's Susan Crow. Hi, Susan. Let's talk about, okay, we talk a lot, Susan Wheeler has been bringing forward the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, for several years now, incorporating them more and more into the content of the conference. But Susan, I think it would be helpful if you talked with this audience about the SDGs to make sure everybody's sort of on the same playing field as we go through the conference this week.
So the UN Sustainable Development Goals really talk about, they have a goal for 2030, for the year 2030. And there are 17 different goals, and they have, Andrea, I don't have them in front of me, so I can't, but clean water is one. So it'll talk about initiatives where people are working to get clean water to people globally. And there are gender equity is another one. And it's all of these areas that they've come up with that we need to address and tackle in order for everyone to be equal and in a good place, and for there to be equity throughout the globe in the most vulnerable countries as well as, our own countries. So it's a global effort, but I like to use it kind of as a language instead of, we can use fair trade, but this is so much more expansive. And I think if we in the jewelry industry start linking everything and thinking about what areas we can address. So I was asked a couple of years ago by somebody, why are you still making jewelry? And I make jewelry now to link jewelry to the Sustainable Development Goals. So like these earrings, the pearls are from Cortez Pearls, which talked last year about how they have regenerative pearl processes. And then I think I have Malawi sapphires. And that's an area where, Eric Brownwart, when he was working in Malawi, was investing in a school there, investing in the ASM community, and then Morganite from Nigeria. So each of these areas, and that was an investment in ASM where there's projects going there. And then the gold is, Fairmind, where you have multiple, where the premiums are spent. You can look and link all those premiums to almost any Sustainable Development Goal SDG they've spent their money on, education, all the different things. So what can we do? Let's make jewelry that actually is focused on doing good. And now we're going to have a presentation from Pact Lead that is talking about the SDGs in artisanal and small scale mining. And then we also have a presentation with the UN SDGs for partnerships and conscious choice fashion campaign. So all those are just all about the SDGs.
Well, and it's funny because I'd heard about the SDGs, but when you started talking about them as a language, I looked at them in a whole new way. That's all you, Susan. Nobody, you talk about it in a different way. Other people talk about them as goals, and they are goals. And I want to run through the 17 of them real quick for the audience, because I think it's really important to reflect on each one of them and see how we as an industry, as a jewelry industry, can touch each of these goals. So they are no poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, decent work and economic growth, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. We have a lot of work to do there. Reduced inequalities, sustainable cities and communities, responsible consumption and production, climate action, life below water, life on land, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and partnerships for the goals. Those are the 17 SDGs, and Susan's weaving the content of this conference through all of them. Anyway, it's our new language.
And it'll be really good to watch the presentation on how this is with artisanal and small scale mining, because we can really go in and make a difference, whether we are, getting our gold from, Fairmind or an ASM group that we know about, gemstones, and hopefully in the future, diamonds. It's not there yet, but we all keep hoping that we'll get that in diamonds. And then with the UN and the Conscious Choice Fashion campaign, they want, the UN for SDG partnerships, they want to involve the jewelry industry. And I think even RJC is working with a different area of the UN and SDGs. So it's really, I know, speaking to people that are kind of in the nonprofit area, it's an area that they want to focus on, that we can all start talking about, because globally, behind, for rural areas that are vulnerable, behind agriculture, the artisanal small-scale mining is the next biggest way to have economic empowerment. And, ASM is poverty-driven, but we can do so much work there. So
we can.
I can make another pitch for an initiative quickly. So when I was visiting in Kenya, when I was visiting Voi, there was no water there. They have to bring the water into the mining area. And through the Responsible Jewelry Transformative, we're working with Rotary International to raise money to get clean and safe water to the women miners there in Kenya. So it's an example that we think of, I guess we don't sometimes even think about that somebody doesn't have, they're mining and they don't even have water. They have to bring their water in jugs. So having clean water and sanitation is, something can be addressed in ASM mining communities globally. And I mean, it's just an example of so many of these things that we need to address and we need to think about.
Yep. And things we take for granted. And that's why it's important that this conference brings these people together, this whole community, because otherwise we're just talking about it in separate countries and in separate pieces of the supply chain or initiatives that are separate from the jewelry industry supply chain. So we need to hear from each other. Then the problems become much more relatable and real. So that's a big goal of this conference, is to make sure that we're having conversations with each other, not just about each other. Okay, so every year, Susan, you come to the conference and you have some thought on the ethos of this year's conference, and it always comes to you at the last minute, and it hit you yesterday afternoon. I want you to share that.
Okay, hold on, I have to get it because I can't quote off the cuff. But let me tell you, first of all, last year's, which I still talk about, was, and I think I had, usually when we're in person, you and I both have carloads of people. I think Stuart Poole was in my car, and Chia with Diamonds from Peace was in my car. So we had a whole carload of people, and I'm driving, and I'm like, oh my God, do you see that mural? Do you see the mural on that building? It was Ida B. Wells.
Yeah.
From Chicago, famous woman in human rights and civil rights. And it was the quote that I've been using all year about, if you want to fix a wrong or, have a right, then shine the light upon it. Yep. So yesterday I was walking in the park and I see Abraham Lincoln's monument. And the thing, after the American elections, you see Abraham Lincoln, you just want to cry.
Right.
You see the monument and literally tears were in my eyes. It was so beautiful. And so I went and I started reading everything on the monument. And then I found this one. Let's have faith that right makes might. And in that faith, let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it. And so again, it's communication. And I'm thinking about all of this. There's been a lot of talk about ethics in the jewelry community, ethics. And one of the things that comes out is if you're doing your best and you don't know about something, but you're doing your best, then you're ethical. And so I think now about everyone signing on, everyone in this conference, when you know about something, when you hear about human rights problems in large-scale mining, whether it's diamonds or indigenous rights, when you hear about something that's not right, then you no longer can ethically say, I'm going to go ahead and, be a part of that. Because Lincoln says, dare to do our duty as we understand it.
Understand it.
So this conference is bringing an understanding to our duty. So that's why we need to go out. And after we hear about these things, we need to do our duty. And that does talk about the basics of supply chain. Don't have something in your supply chain. Now, if you know about it, if you know that there's something that's not right in your supply chain, somebody's getting hurt or the environment's getting hurt, it's your duty to work on that. Don't necessarily say, well, I'm going to go to this person because I know that you need to work on it, you need to engage. So that's our duty in the jewelry industry. Unfortunately, we're not just making pretty jewelry, without causing harm. We have to really work hard at it because it's hard.
It's hard work. And I have a hard time spitting this thought out, but we all come to the responsibility journey from different places and at different levels, and you get to arrive where you are. There's no measurement of saying, well, this person's further on their journey than that person. We arrive where we are, and then we just start working. And we sometimes arrive with very different perceptions or interpretations of an issue. You'll see some of that come up in the conference this week, where there are some people that have produced research that other people disagree with. It's all okay. We arrive at this conversation where we are with the information that we have. It's through the open dialogue and the sharing and the learning to interpret things with the contributions of a lot of other people's ideas that we get to a new level of knowledge. So our goal is that we all come to this conference every year and we leave more aware of our duty, more aware of ways to act on that duty. What were you going to say?
No, I totally agree. I mean, it's you have to act and you start from where you are. But I want to now go to the other part. Let's have faith that right makes might. Now that's Maxima in the movie, because she's one woman
fighting for a long time before anyone told her story.
Right. So, and it's not only Maxima, who's this huge story and globally known, it's the jewelers on the jewelry design panel. So I'm just a jewelry designer, I'm just like a jewelry designer, right?
But okay.
So anyone can do this stuff. And when you see the jewelry designer panel and you see, one designer that's going and making a difference, whether it's Boychoka, who's from Botswana, and she's like, I'm just a new jeweler. I just want to do it right. I talked to her a few years ago. She's, I'm just starting out. But, from the beginning, she wanted to do it right. And you've got Babo Fuchira, who's, again, just doing jewelry because he wants to, stop the mercury problem. That's the only reason he has a jewelry design business. So you see all of these different jewelers that are coming at it, and they're just, right makes might. What can I do as a single individual, as a jewelry designer, or as one person standing up for their own rights?
Absolutely. There's one thing I have been challenging every jewelry business I work with, even more the last year, is one of the things that you can do is so simple. It's ask questions. Ask every vendor the questions. Ask them over and over again. Keep pressing for answers. Because when enough of us are asking these important questions about what's happening in the supply chain, people start to pay attention. They start realizing they have to get around to answering it. So let's all ask more questions of all of the people that we deal with in our jewelry supply chain. And that brings more people to the discussion.
And I think that's so true. And it's, that's from day one, we've been saying that, and it's still saying that, and in everything, in our gold, in our diamonds, in our gemstones, we're always asking the questions. And I think part of the communication, we need to know, because I think about lots of times we're being told that this is the right way, and what we're giving you, the diamonds that we're giving you are good, and you're ready to go. You're all set. We have to, wait. Are you sure about that? Can we ask more questions? Or because your gold is, recycled, you're good to go. But we need to always be asking questions, because when we're in front of the consumers, and by the way, some of the consumers are indigenous people who've lost their land to gold. Some of the consumers are, scientists who understand the Amazon and no longer want to have gold. Or, if you're in whatever, Nevada or someplace, and they ask about blood diamonds, we're on the spot, and if we're the ones just accepting things without asking questions, a lot of us, whether you're a designer or a retailer that's out there consumer front, or even if you're a diamond dealer and somebody like me asks you the questions, you're always, you might be on the spot. And you need to know. And so these things need to be communicated, and communication starts with questions.
Well, and a lot of people think that just saying, oh yeah, my vendor deals with, like, let's do the diamonds example, with the Kimberley process. Well, when you attend the large scale diamond mining panel, which you need to, because that's one of the Chatham House Rules panels, so we won't be recording it, you're going to hear from people, like Ed Asher, who's president of the World Diamond Council, and they'll share what some of the challenges are with achieving change within the Kimberley process. So people are trying to push for change, but that doesn't necessarily mean change is happening. So you need to understand these issues so that when you ask questions and somebody say, oh, it's a Kimberley process diamond, you know to press further.
Yeah, we still have areas where we don't have transparency, and it affects our sourcing a lot. I mean, with diamonds, we need more transparency, and understanding the system is really. I don't understand that system. I don't. I've studied it for so long. I don't get it. But we'll try and understand it more with that panel.
The system of trade that's been in place for centuries.
Yeah.
And so the behaviors of that system are very, very entrenched in very opaque, verbal agreement-based trade networks. So peeling those kinds of systems apart is very difficult to do, and it takes a lot of energy. And we need to throw ourselves as an industry in support of like the World Diamond Council achieving some of the objectives they're bringing forward when they sit there at the table, or the Kimberley Process Civil Society helping them achieve their objectives when they're sitting at that table. So it's not just the governments and their representatives in the Kimberley process, which otherwise are going to be paying attention to a lot of different agendas. So we need to support the World Diamond Council and Kimberley Process Civil Society agendas and start to peel apart that diamond trade business mess.
We'll also have Pamela First Walsh from the State Department, who is kind of the overseer for the U.S. on that, and we'll have Julianne Kippinger from Human Rights Watch, and then Joanne Lieber from Impact Africa Canada is actually the moderator. So Joanne's taking a different position this year.
Well, and I guess the point there, Susan, is that great organizations like Human Rights Watch and Impact and the state, all of these groups, they're out there doing the work. But who has the money that influences the network? It's the jewelry business. Yeah. So they're speaking with their passion and their compassion, the NGOs. They're out there trying to get the work done. We pay the bills. So if we speak with our money, and any one of us may not spend a lot of money on diamonds, but together we spend a lot of money on diamonds. So we as an industry need to throw our energy into supporting the people at the table who are trying to affect change and the people in the NGOs that are trying to affect change, because we are the ones with the money.
Yeah, the U.S. is still half of the diamond market, with the other half divided between, I think, China and India. Roughly, I'm not great with numbers. So the other one we haven't talked about is the gemstone panel with Monica Gachui is moderating, and we have Mukasiri Sambata on that, and Chico Mandana, and Marcina Hunter. Mm-hmm. So this comes into conversation so many times. So, a lot of you know that I have the program Virtue Gem, which is under the nonprofit with Monica and Jess Hudson. And we're working in Malawi and Zambia. And of course, she also knows Kenya very well. So one of the things in Malawi that Percy and Chico are talking about in the program is, oh, we have such beautiful rhodolite. Our rhodolite's so great, and it's going out to other countries. It's going to Tanzania and other countries, and they're taking credit for it. And our rhodolite is most beautiful. And that's fun, and that's great. And there's countries like, when you look at Kenya, and the pride in the Savarite. Mm-hmm. But it comes down to much more of this. So Mukasiri, who used to be with Zella, the Zimbabwe, Zella's like a law firm. Now he's with Mukasiri's moved over to the African Tax Justice Group. Got that right, Andrea? And so actually he and Monica at his conference in the middle of the night, our time US, just had a panel on this where she was talking more about gender equity in Kenya and similar things. And so we're talking about like the taxes in and out of Africa, in between countries. And then it's also linked to the aid, like how much aid do we put into Africa? And then how much are they losing in taxes? Yeah. So a lot of this, he can look at the bigger scale and knows the numbers for that, which is really interesting. But it sounds like, okay, we're talking about rhodolite, or we're talking about Savarite, not even the big gems, but it's not just the pride in the beautiful gems. It's the taxes that are lost when things are going across each border. So to be able to really get more empowerment and equity, whether it's the tax money or whether it's the, the money getting back into the ASM community, we have to look at the way things are done. And that's why, you have Moyo using provenance proof with Googlen Labs. We're using it at Virtue Gem. What is great about Mind to Market? What is great about, blockchain and knowing where your gems come from? It's not saying that everything on the ground where you're getting your gems is, bright and shiny and perfect the way that we want to see it. But it's saying we know where that's from. Let's talk, let's engage, let's, work on what we have. But then also let's make sure that when we export those gems legally, that we are exporting those gems legally, it's giving the money back into the country. And
speaking of this idea that it's not just solving, it's not just mercury at the mine, it's not just child labor at the mine, it's not just environmental issues at the mine. Those are all important, but it's also all of those aspects of transport to the time it leaves the country. And there's a lot of infrastructure that we need to understand so we can help be active around influencing it or supporting our colleagues in these countries so they can address it. So that's, getting a deeper understanding of the issues in the places where we get our source materials from is very important. Yeah,
I mean, look at our own country. We had to dump a bunch of tea, in the ocean to get some justice there with taxation. It's a major
tax justice is a major issue around the world.
Yeah. So that's really interesting. I mean, it's always fun, of course, to talk about gemstones, but really we're seeing where what we've been talking about for years and having, knowing where your gem's coming from, making sure they're legally exported is really important.
Absolutely. So it's about time for Susan and I to start wrapping up this launch of the conference. I want to know if there's any other questions from the audience for us. Pop them in the chat box so that we can address those before we close. The other, somebody had asked what the Chatham House sessions were to make sure they watched. It's the Large Diamonds panel, Large Scale Diamond Mining. It's also the Mercury panel and possibly the Indigenous Rights panel, but we're not sure about that one yet. We're waiting for an answer. Hi, Botsoko. Let's see, I'm looking to see if there's a question in there. Oh no, just a great thought and a greeting. It's nice to see you too. I can't wait for your session.
Did we hit all the panels?
We didn't hit all the panels, but go to the event website and look at all the sessions. We've been adding descriptions frantically for the last few days. So there's more descriptions in there about each of the sessions.
Oh yeah, Tim McCree, we have the Tiny Toolbox finally.
Initiative, yep. That's coming Friday.
Yeah.
Tim's been doing that for years to no acclaim and very little visibility. But Tim McCrate started something called the Toolbox Initiative back in 2014 to get tools into the hands of people that were trying to make jewelry in areas where tools were hard to access, primarily Africa. But anyway, he's going to talk all about the Toolbox Initiative. So that'll be Friday at 1 p.m. Central Time. Susan, someone named Richard's telling you that someone named Josh says hi.
Hi. All right. Are there any other ones that we missed?
I don't know. I mean, there's 34 sessions. There are 82 speakers and 34 sessions. I know we did not talk about all of them.
I know, yeah. I mean,
we have 5 days to do it.
The gem shop's going to be so fun, though. So that's all today.
Yep, that's all today. It's going to be a blast. Yeah, honestly, I'm looking, Susan. It looks like we talked about most of the sessions. Hemant Shah is going to do a presentation.
Oh my God.
Ethics and natural ecosystem.
So fun. It's so fun. He's all right. We're always we need more connection with India and the jewelry community there always. And he's totally it. He's the real deal. 2 seconds. When I first saw his jewelry, I'm like, what? this looks like, it looks like fine jewelry. And this stuff that he does, he brings in all the ancient jewelry techniques in India, and he's teaching people the ancient techniques, but then he does everything with recycled metals and in bicycle parts. And he works in man-made gems because he wants everything to be totally clean. And he's just so fun. Great presentation.
Yeah, he's really, really fun to listen to. Talk about Pat Severid's session. She'll be doing a session on Friday also.
So Pat now is at University of Delaware. She's always doing great work. She has, led the Jewelry Development Initiative for years. And so she'll be doing updates on all of that and on their programming, which is great for anyone who wants to really, get a certificate and dive deep into jewelry supply chains and sustainability. And always remember that the Jewelry Development Index is there. Like, if you're like, I wonder if I should get some lapis from, Afghanistan, or, I wonder what it's like in this country if I should do that. They have countries that they've researched, and they've researched the positives, and it's a whole scale, it's a whole index. So I said to Pat, let's keep on reminding people that this is there, and you have, it's so nice to have tangible research when you're asking these questions that we need to ask.
Absolutely. I think the only other session we didn't really talk about was, and it's something that Susan and I talk about a lot, one way or the other. There are a lot of things that reinforce inequities in systems, but one of those things is language. So if you want to start dismantling systemic inequities, we look at language. So we're going to talk on, is it Thursday, about Susan's press to change the term native cut terminology and how the industry responded to that and where we are with that.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. That's another chat. That'll be, language. It's important. That's why we have the jewelry glossary.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that's our update, and I'm not seeing any other questions come in other than Tossie's asking what search resource was it?
Oh, Jewelry Development Index, which I think still lives on the Sustainable Development on the hub, but I don't know, maybe Pat or somebody, it might have been moved to the University of Delaware website, but the Jewelry Development Index, if you Google that. And they usually do 2 countries at a time.
Yep, and I'm picturing her PowerPoint in my head, and I think she's got some links in there, so we'll share those links. All right, so, and Crystal wants to know what's the certificate you mentioned.
I don't know. What certificate?
I'm trying to remember too. Sorry, Crystal, we've blanked. Anna, to go to the online shop, you just go to the Responsible Jewelry Conference website, and I'm sure that either Kirsten or Rachel can drop the link in there for you.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the Gem Boutique. I'm going to try not to buy like a ton of things, but I know I probably will, since I'm seriously still a gem addict.
I don't make jewelry. And last night, as we were going through the shop while we were, time to calm down and get some sleep before the session starts, I was ready to start ordering gemstones. I'm like, I could have Susan make me something with this. I could have Jennifer make me something with that. So yeah, I abstained, but the gem shop is really exciting.
It's fun. And everyone will be talking about their projects and their initiatives and what they've been up to, and how the gems relate to that. I mean, these people that are coming on, this is the real deal. These are people who are working on the mind to market and have been for a while, and in showing us what it can be.
For sure. All right, you guys, we're going to wrap it up for the moment. You'll hear a lot more from Susan and me over the course of the next few days. Stay for today. Do the gem sessions. There's a lot of hard work to be done. We're going to talk about a lot of hard work over the next few days, but let's celebrate the beautiful gems and the beautiful people who are working to bring us responsible gems today. Let's give them some love, because many of them are representing the very initiatives that we have been talking about and working for. So anyway, I guess Anything, Susan, or are we wrapped? She's got something.
Well, and the Gem Show will be live from the U.S., from London, from Australia, from Malawi, from Zambia, so from all over.
It is all over the world. They're logging in to entertain you with gems today. All right, you guys. Next session is in half an hour. Don't be late. And we'll see you later. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.